Liz, you remind me that after the Hofstra debate between McCain and Obama, they have a wonderful dinner in New York City. It's called the Al Smith Dinner. Maybe some of you have heard of it. And they always have the presidential candidates come. And it was great because you'd just seen McCain and Obama just have a really testy debate. And then they come up the next day, and McCain spoke first. And he concluded by saying, "And now it's my great pleasure to introduce to you the most eloquent, the wittiest, the most extraordinary speaker I have ever heard. And anything less than that will obviously be a bitter disappointment to any of you. Barack Obama." Barack Obama did pretty well, I gotta tell you. And to Mary, and John, and Paul, and just an awful lot of friends here, I appreciate your being here. I really do. I did one other drinking liberally thing. I was telling somebody in San Francisco 4 years ago, where I got there a little bit late. The party had already begun. I went on a little too long, and they had Carlos Santana's son warming up behind me. And I realized it was a time to wrap it up. So I will be brief. And but thank you. I recognize so many of you here. I got to introduce my sister Kim, by the way. She lives here and takes care of me and lets me take a nap on my way to and from different events. But a lot of friends who stood up 4 years ago. And we stood up. You had the independence and courage to stand up. You stood up for somebody you probably hadn't even heard of, wasn't a household name in his own household, frankly. But we felt very, very strongly that our country was going in the wrong direction. And we were going to stand up and see if we could make a difference. I think thanks to an awful lot of you, we made a difference. We made a change. We won that primary. We registered tens of thousands of new Democrats. Joe Courtney got elected. Barack Obama got elected. And it's folks like you who really... And this is 4 years later, and I'm just here to tell you that the same moral crisis that made us stand up 4 years ago, I've got to tell you what's going on in the state of Connecticut and hopefully get you as involved today as we were then. There's a fair number of folks who think that, some of the folks I saw at the Capitol yesterday when the governor spoke, who think, look, if we can just weather this economic storm here in Connecticut, we'll be back to business as usual. And I just think they're dead wrong. This is a state that's been in a world of hurt for many years. And it's going to take some fundamental changes, change the way we do business to get this state going again, to get this state growing again, and get back on offense. And don't take my word for it. I like to quote a great economist. His name is Chris Healy. Have any of you heard of Chris Healy? Chris Healy is the Republican state chairman. And he said some months ago, he said, quote, "Connecticut has become an economic dead zone." And we've been a dead zone since 1991. You also maybe know that 1991 is the last year we had a Democratic governor. What exactly is your point, Chris Healy? Let me tell you just seriously for a minute what I see going on in the state and what we got to do. I can talk to you a bit from the point of view of a dad. I've got a 22-year-old who just graduated. Somebody's going to be graduating in a couple of years. And you look at a state like Connecticut, where we have a higher percentage of our graduates leaving the state than just about any other state in the country, going to greener pastures. We got to make sure that Connecticut is a state where our kids want to live, have a choice of living, can have a good, decent job of living, some cities that are fun to be. That will change. Number two, as I was just saying, I've been a teacher for a while. And I taught at Harding High School in Bridgeport, urban high school. And there you talk to a lot of the young people. They just don't know if they have a future sometimes at all. And you need a governor, and we need a state to remind these kids every day that you are a big part of our future. We want you here, and we want you part of the team going forward. And I'm going to remember those kids every day if I get the opportunity to be in Hartford. I can tell you that I also was, like some of you, elected 4 times in my hometown. Selectman, Board of Finance, and have a real appreciation for dealing with constituents day by day all that they're going through and helping them walk through a government which sometimes doesn't work for the people. And in Hartford, we have a government that's not working for the people. But lastly, and for me most importantly, let me tell you what it's like from the point of view of a small businessman and what I think a business person brings to the job. It was about 25 years ago that I started up my business. I borrowed some money from People's Bank. I went to one of those rental offices where for $500 a month, there are 6 or 7 of us. We got $1 and a dream, all these entrepreneurs there. We shared one great assistant who gave us the look like we were a real business. Her name was Olivia, and she was a card. Sometimes the call would come in, and she'd go, "Oh, so you want to talk to the director of purchasing from Lamont Cable, do you?" "Well, she's busy right now, but if you're lucky, I can transfer you in to talk to the assistant director." Well, I was the assistant director. I was the chief cook. I was the bottle washer. And you learn an appreciation for what it's like to start a business. And now 25 years later, we've employed hundreds and hundreds of people. We have taken on the cable industry, and through innovation and entrepreneurship and technology, we beat them at their own game. And the first thing I've learned, as a guy who started up a business, when I look at state government, is if I was doing business the same way today as I did 25 years ago, I'd be out of business many times over. Competition, entrepreneurship, innovation, technology, and as I go around the state of Connecticut, we're pretty much doing business the same way. And that is costing our state, not only in terms of the quality of service for our constituents, but also costing our taxpayers dramatically. Let me tell you something else I learned as a business person. Hire good people, pay them well, treat them with respect, and empower them. In the state, I look at the government too often, and we have superintendents or commissioners, they turn over an awful lot, and too often we're likely to blame our employees instead of working with our team. The best ideas I got were from the folks in the field. And we don't treat our employees as well we should, with the respect that they deserve. That's how we got our state doing better. And thirdly, in some ways most importantly, look, I started up a growth business. We grow the top line, we grow business, we grow opportunities, we grow revenues, and I want to be governor of a growth state. And when people say we need more revenues, yeah, we do need more revenues. But it's not necessarily more taxes, it's more taxpayers. What this state needs is more job creation, more employment, more business startups. That's how we get the state going again. And as I heard the governor yesterday in the legislature, it's sort of the politics of, here's the pizza pie. Got any pizza here, anybody? It's about this big. It's not getting any bigger. How do we divide up the pie? That's what we do every 2 years with our budget cycle. And I think we need a strategy. How do we expand that pie? How do we make that pie bigger? How do we make the pieces